Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm playing chess, but I can only move each piece 5 times before it becomes immobile. My goal is to beat Martin. Let's get started with game number 1. Alright, game number 1, as you can see, each piece has this little bubble above it that indicates that it only has 5 moves on the board. And if I go ahead and make a move with that piece, it goes down to 4, 3, 2, 1, and eventually 0, at which point it can no longer make any more moves. Now, interestingly enough, there are a lot of repercussions from this little funky variant that I've cooked up. And the first victims of my indiscretions are actually the pawns. Because even though with 5 moves, they can technically move down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and promote to a beautiful, wonderful 9-point queen. They can thereafter never move again. It will just be a queen sitting on the back rank of the board with absolutely 0 value. So since these pawns don't even have the potential to promote into anything, or rather they do, but nothing will ever come of it because they will immediately be immobilized, I think I'm highly incentivized to just kind of throw my pawns at Martin. We're immediately put in check. Let's go ahead and stop that idea right away. He sacrifices the bishop, but I will take back. And again, I'm more than happy to use all of these pieces, rather all of my pawns, and just push into the position, kind of using them like grenades, right? I'm going to use them as grenades to kind of create holes in Martin's position, and then follow up with all of these much more valuable pieces. We are met with queen to g5, which is just free. So I will make a little exception here to grab a free queen. We'll take back with this pawn. And the thing is, I really don't want to develop any of these pieces. I guess more so specifically the queen and the rooks. I don't want to develop immediately because every move with my queen is very, very valuable, right? In fact, most likely my queen or one of my rooks will be the checkmating piece. So until I kind of have at least a vague idea of where that checkmate is coming in, I'm not going to move these pieces. I'll keep instigating in Martin's position with my pawns. He does in fact take back. We'll go ahead and recapture. That is a free knight. And you can see this is definitely a position that I can work with, right? The opening position where there's like a whole bunch of pawns and the queen is sitting right there, bishops, all staring to protect those pawns. That is not a place where I'm developing my queen to attack Martin. But I've kind of launched all of these pawns into the abyss. I feel like I've gotten a very fair amount of material in exchange. I will go ahead and take this pawn because I do threaten mate in 1. So that's almost a little counterproductive to threaten mate in 1 because Martin will see it, right? In that case, rather in this case, queen to d8 was the checkmating threat and Martin now more than safely defends that square. But okay, we'll keep developing. Let's move the knights and bishops next. Knight comes out to d4. Now, I'm not going to capture that with my queen. I'm going to intentionally take it with my knight, because if I run out of knight moves, to be totally frank, don't care at all. But the queen moves, I'm going to keep nice and safe on the board. We'll take this bishop next. I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job of fumigating all of Martin's pieces. Okay, this I feel like I can take, because the king is sufficiently, for lack of a better term, butt naked, that I feel like I'm really close to checkmate just kind of inherently. We'll go ahead and take this rook as well, give Martin check. There has to be a forced mating threat here. Yeah, we have this double check with the knight and the queen, which means there is no way to stop both of those checks at the same time. King shuffling over is the only move. And now I have my pick, queen or rook. Of course, for style points, we'll checkmate with the rook down on d8. And with that, we do in fact defeat Martin with only 5 moves on each piece. Now, with all due respect to Martin, that was not a particularly difficult challenge, so we'll move on to his cousin, Smartin. All right, we now have his wonderfully intelligent cousin, Smartin, on the board, who will hopefully give us a tougher challenge. We still only have 5 moves for every piece, but Smartin is going to play a little bit more intelligently. Maybe we'll get a free queen, but it's at least much less likely. I'm going to go ahead with the same strategy as before, except I have to be a little bit more safe about it, because now that, for example, if d4, there's a non-zero chance that Smartin takes, holds on to the pawn and plays actual concrete chess. So I'll develop my minor pieces first, my pawns as well. Oh, we do actually get the queen out. Okay, now I'm definitely going to challenge the center. We do also get bishop to b4 check as well. Okay, I'm blocking that right away. But Smartin and Martin are very differently wired. Martin would definitely give up the bishop in this position. Smartin, on the other hand, retains his material. Kind of, right? Because I can still take this pawn on e5. It's defended by the knight, and I'm not super afraid, again, of losing any of these pieces. The bishop does, in fact, take. I'll take with my knight. Smartin not really showing up his brother by that much. I can't really decide. Are they cousins, brothers? You guys let me know. Should Smartin be Martin's dad? That feels a little bit not right. I feel like if Smarten was going to be the father of Martin, then Smarten should look older. But they look more like cousins, I feel like, or brothers maybe. Maybe brothers feels right. I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below if Smarten is Martin's brother, cousin, what have you. Dog? I don't know. We get queen to e6, which does preserve the queen. I'm going to keep developing my minor pieces. I actually do think it's worthwhile to castle just so that my king doesn't get harassed too much. Ooh, en passant. Pawn to d5. I mean, this is more than well supported. So I'll use this 4-move pawn and take on d5, threaten the queen again. Queen does move out of the way. Smarten does have a little bit of a better understanding of material and the necessity to keep it on the board. Can I not play bishop to b5 though? Pins the queen to the king. If c6, I take, but then there's a queen trade. Yeah, and a queen trade, if he were to play into that, a queen trade I think would be devastating because then I would have to checkmate with one of my rooks or somehow, gain 200 points of IQ over the course of the next 5 minutes and figure out how to do it with minor pieces and pawns. So for the time being, I'll just play super solid, continue to develop my minor pieces. And I do kind of have the same plan as the first game, right? Use these pawns to instigate and push through into the position. I'm just going to be a lot more conservative about how I develop into those ideas, right? I want them to be supported. I don't really want them to be loosey-goosey, because while Martin will give me a free queen, Smarten clearly has a preference of not giving me free queens. All right, we get pawn to a5, which I think does nothing. We'll castle the king. Knight comes out to e7. To be frank, I don't care if he castles because there are really no defending pieces here. So I'm super happy to just do a little bit of rerouting and get a kingside attack going if castling is played. But if it isn't, then I'm going to play rook to e1 and I'm going to attack him down the center of the board. Okay, king to d8 loses castling rights immediately. Question is, do I move the queen out of the way, losing her a move, to play rook a to d1, then d6, and then attack down the d file? Or is this doing too much though? Like how much value does a singular queen move have? I feel like a lot, but is it doing too much to play rook c1, rook c2, rook d2, or just this rook, for instance, right? Rook e2, rook d2, and have this rook look down the d file. That way this rook starts to run out of moves, and it will probably it'll have 2 moves left here, 1 move left here, and then basically its only function would be either to sit here with a singular move and control the d file, or launch itself into the position to grab some sort of material. I think that's reasonable. We'll play rook up to e2, and this rook will get to preserve all of its original moves. Okay, that is not going to slide. Pawn to h3, go ahead and skedaddle. Again, I have no qualms about using my pawns. Oh, that's a free bishop. That is frankly embarrassing. That's so crazy. That is horrendous. Okay, we're gonna ignore that. Move our rook to d2. We didn't need that bishop anyways. Who even put that on the board? That was kind of in my way now that I think about it. Bishop to f5. We must enact vengeance, right? We must successfully defeat Smarten to gain vengeance for our lost brother bishop on c4. Pawn to d6 I think does a really good job of threatening to open up the position. I'm not gonna take with the rook because it's kind of like losing a rook since it would have 0 moves left. And clearly I cannot afford to lose any more material. So we'll take back with the pawn, threatens the knight, and it moves out of the way, but up to d5 where it's completely free, so I'll take with my own knight. Whoa, bishop to h3, super aggressive, but I don't think actually leads to anything because the only piece on the board that's developed for the black pieces is the queen. And what is she going to do? Check me on g4? I don't think so. We get knight to d7. Let's develop this rook, target the queen. It is very strange to have this rook on d2. I mean, it's not horribly placed, but I literally can't move it anymore without, again, quote unquote, losing it since it would become immobilized. All right, queen takes a2. I don't think I really care. Can I play b3 and almost trap the queen? There's queen to a3, bishop c5 doesn't work because of the knight. Okay, fair enough. Let's go knight to b6. I need to start removing these pieces that are defending Smarten's king. We'll play this with check. King comes up to d7. Is this not forced mate at some point? Knight e5, king e6, queen g4, f5. Queen takes rook g8, pins my queen. Awesome. Okay, let's be careful here. How about rook c7? This rook still has 4 moves. I'm just hesitant to use these high value pieces, right? Because they're not high value pieces just inherently by being on the board. They're now high value pieces with a sort of limit on them. I can only move them so many times before I just lose access, basically. Subscription pieces. I only have a subscription on this one for 4 months, this one for 5 months, and this one, the subscription is about to expire. So I have to be very picky with how I use them. Knight t5 still seems reasonable though. It has 4 moves left. It would have 3 after this check. It would, I think, draw the king out further. If the king were to retreat, don't I just have like pawn d7? That seems really annoying. So yeah, I like that. Knight to e5 is check. Ooh, king goes back, d7. Again, it's not even because promotion is a threat. Promotion is a total non-threat. But that does seem really pesky. Pawn all up in his business, giving check. King comes up to e7. Bishop c5, I don't think does anything. I am kind of getting close to running out of moves. Oh wait, now I can play b3. b3, if the queen takes, that would be amazing because this rook was going to be worth nothing anyways. But if b3, queen a3, bishop c5, check hits the queen. If the queen sacks herself, the rook just takes back. And then I still have 3 moves left on that rook. Okay, b3 now. That queen is completely trapped. Okay, oh, that's like the best case scenario. The queen sacks herself for a piece that was not gonna have any moves anyways. We'll take back with our own queen. Not like I really had a choice there, so rook shuffles over. There have to be mating ideas. I really don't want to move this queen unless I have to, or unless I basically see checkmate on the board. But queen to d5 seems so concrete. She would be centralized, threatening f7, cutting off a lot of the king's squares, and she would have 3 moves left over. So I think this is validated. Queen to d5 I think is safe and sound. Rook takes. Wait, don't I just have queen f7? Queen f7, king d6? That's the idea? Queen takes, king takes. What, my queen would only have 1 move left on d7? I mean, I guess that makes sense. I could also just take here right away, king to f6, and the queen would then have 2 moves, and I like that a little bit better. So let's take back right away with check. King moves up to f6. Of course, it was never going to play king to f8 because queen f7 is mate right away, so king to f6 keeps Smartin in the game. You're telling me there's no checkmate here, is that what you're trying to tell me? Queen to f7 would leave the queen with only 1 move, so I'd basically not be able to move her ever again. King takes, check. King comes forward. The problem is the king is such an open position that it's very difficult to like corner him. So maybe pawn to f4 first, right? Threatens queen takes f7 again. Smartin, like his brother, cousin, aunt, sister, whatever we want to call them, both of them never missed checkmate in 1. So rook to f8 was a guarantee, basically stopping queen takes f7. But I like this. I like that he's on the ropes. Now rook here threatens rook d6 checkmate, which again, he's going to notice and create an escape square on g7. Maybe knight back to g4, anchors the knight, the king goes back. I haven't really used this bishop, so let's give check. King shuffles back. Oh, knight to h6 is just checkmate. Sweet. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really calculate that, but that is normally how I sort of play chess, right? I create an attack, I bring all of my pieces into the attack, and then eventually a tactic sort of develops. Now, normally I would notice a checkmate like that before it occurs, but I was being very stingy about my usual play style because I can't really waste any moves when I only have 5 per piece. But anyways, with that, we do defeat both Martin and his, you guys let me know in the comments below, what is their relation? Whatever, cousin, I suppose. Smartin with only 5 moves per piece. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know down below if you guys have any ideas for freaky variants that I should create, and I'll see you guys in the next one.